Welcome everyone to another episode of Coffee and Whiteboard Markers. I'm joined by my co-host Sean Brentnell.
G'day.
I'm Miles O'Kane. Welcome along for the ride, my man. Here we go. So halfway through the term.
Yes.
5 weeks left. How are we travelling? What's going on? Talk me through the mind of Sean Brentnell.
We're doing task.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they're updates for the parents. Like you send out the task marks. So
Do you parent nights? You have 2 a year, one a year,
just one
at the start of the year.
Yeah.
So it's just
And too early too.
too early, like a week 5 kind of thing.
Yeah. So you only done one task really. Like
If you had to, so more parent nights, less reports, or more reports, less parent nights, which way would you go? Me personally, I'd rather do more in-person stuff.
Same. I think it's better that way. But I think I'd rather do that than ring up parents.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you think? No difference?
I think you get more out of the face-to-face, man. I think that I find trying to get in contact with parents hard these days. Everyone working longer hours and stuff. But I find myself personally, I find comments a bit, it's just you don't get much out of it.
We didn't do comments last year, and we're not doing them this year, I think.
Okay. Well, that's a win.
I think is a COVID thing. I don't know how, but yeah. So yeah, just doing that, mate. Like so the parents know where they're at.
Yep.
And then we've got a bunch of reward nights, so like dinner dances and river cruises.
Have you been on a river cruise? We had our river cruise last week. Didn't get onto it. But I haven't been on a river cruise for years.
I haven't been. I don't know enough of the students. Like I know the year 10s very well, but
Because you only moved to the school last year.
Second
year, right?
But I'd be interested going to the year 9 one. But so they're all trying to get up there, good standing and
Get in the class, doing the right thing.
I'm the one that ends up signing 40 of those slips.
I had to a year 12 last year. Lovely girl. Barely came to class, and she made a deal with the deputy that if she goes to every class from here to now, wherever it was, she'd go to the ball term 1.
Yep.
So she dominated, came to every class, and I'd taught her a few years previously. After that, didn't see her for like 2 months.
Yeah.
So I'm like, say her name's Jane, and I'm like, Jane, good to see you again. Just remember, I signed off for your life to get you to the ball. Let's make sure you follow through now. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah, I guess that's where I'm at for the halfway point. Is there's like a lot of wheeling and dealing happening.
Wins and losses.
Yeah.
So for me, or wins and improvements, sorry. I think a definite win for me has been getting out of the office, mate, and trying to get around different teaching folk. It's just nice to...
Oh, have you lost classes? Is that why?
Be around different people. No, just have a more of a motivation to get out of the office, I think me personally can just sort of, you feel like you're tucked away a bit at times trying to do planning and stuff. So just taking a bit more time to slow down on that front and be around more people.
Being more efficacy with your dot time.
Good word. This is recess and lunch. The dot time is all about planning.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I find, and we said it before, I think it's just, for me, when I'm at school, just get as much as done as possible.
What's your optimum dot? What period?
I'm a morning man these days.
Which one do you get the most work done in though?
I
reckon 4th.
Okay. So I'm the opposite, man. I get anything before midday is good for me, task-wise. Anything after that, I just need to offload all the non-heavy thinking tasks.
Yeah.
So catching up with students, trying to look at some behaviour stuff, but all my planning and stuff I do before midday.
Yep.
Improvements?
What are we talking about today?
Improvements?
Yep.
What about you? Any improvements?
My knee.
How's that coming along? It looks like the scars have gone down now.
Get a bit easier, yeah.
Back on the court yet?
No, nowhere near that. But it's getting up hills and getting down hills and using stairs, etc. So it's good.
Just have to be walking again, hey?
Yeah.
So look, Sean preluded to it before. In today's episode, we're going to look at the trends that have been emerging in teaching over the last 5 years and our thoughts on them. I think the way we'll do it, we'll read them out, describe them, and then sort of give our input, whether we want to embrace them or sort of give it a pass. The first one we're looking at, so trends in education. The last 5 years, sort of increased use of artificial intelligence. Look, I'm not the best at this, I admit to it. I need to embrace it more. I had a quick look at things like ChatGPT and stuff. I think there's a lot of potential for them.
Yep.
I know you're quite the technology man, so I might throw this one over to you to start with.
It's probably my age. I've used it quite a bit.
Yeah.
So lesson planning, unit planning, worksheets, making worksheets. I've used ChatGPT to do that. That's actually quite good. So,
and the software to check ChatGPT with students and stuff, or you were saying it's quite noticeable, yeah?
Oh, you can notice, yeah.
Right.
Just the way, the flow of the way it's written, especially in lower school, like they don't write, in sequence really.
Right, okay, right. Well, I know, so even if we've advertised for positions before, And it seems like a lot of resumes coming through is use of ChatGPT and
Yeah.
stuff these days.
But you've got to, like, it's like the Napster thing with Metallica. Remember I was talking about that?
Is
About
it
how
talking through that
when
again?
Napster was out, remember downloading music and
I remember Napster.
Lars was wanted to sue Napster for selling their music for free.
Oh, right.
Well, not selling it for free, but like legally download. And then now it's all streaming. So this ChatGPT stuff, you're gonna have to figure out how to
Jump onto
incorporate it.
it. Yeah, so I think we're both on the same page with embracing
But
it here.
I'm an early adapter.
You are an early adapter. What do you like most about it? Just the efficiency and time? Saving your time?
Man. Like you don't spend time mulling over what you've done. And like, you know, when you probably are like that a lot too, are you? Like if you write something, do you go, oh, that's not right, and spend ages on a sentence?
No, I'm quite direct, but when I'm doing the detail, like I make sure I think it through.
Yeah.
Like what other people may just be quick to implement stuff, I try to think it through as much as possible, which at times it can become a bit of paralysis by analysis, I guess.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure I'm sort of covering all the bases.
So you plan to embrace it?
I plan to embrace it. I need to embrace it more.
Yeah.
Explicit direct instruction. Been around longer than 5 years. When you use it as an emerging trend, for anyone that doesn't know about EDI, so you're running very structured lessons, usually through slideshows. There's a lot of I do, you do. So the teacher, we're looking at the link between decimals and percentages, whatever it happens to be. Let's work through sort of the...
Here's an example. This is how you do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Try it.
Yeah, exactly. And then the feedback as well. So the feedback's built in. The checking for feedback. Every 90 seconds or so, you're doing something different.
I think
for the engagement.
that's probably the biggest advantage for that kind of thing, the feedback. Because they do talk about feedback being an effective way for kids to figure out where they're at.
Yep. I found as well, and then because you're doing it, you're presenting in chunks, and then end of every chunk, which happens to be sort of 4 or 5 minutes, you're checking the feedback of the class then. So if it's not working, or you sort of ask 1 or 2 students, if it's not working, then you can go back and sort of reteach that point, which is good.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of it. I mean, I think my note for it is, you just want to make sure you're not reinventing the wheel here. I think there can be a lot of schools out there who want schools or their staff to do their own things, do their own PowerPoints. There's a lot of companies that are already out there that have pre-made slides and stuff for the topic, and just be the use of getting it into the classroom.
That's a clever business idea, but then it's not structured for your specific classes, is it? Like if you're trying to differentiate for...
Yeah, so you need to modify still.
Yeah.
But I would use it as, here's the math topic in a lower school course. And the ones I've used are American companies as well. But you can still modify, as in cut and paste, and they're happy enough with the slides going through. It just meant that it gives you majority of the work's been done for you.
I just think there might be, you'd find that there's too much in them at times. Like there's too much content to cover.
Yep.
Or not enough.
Yep.
So it's a lot of background work, but I think if you're doing that, then you're setting yourself up for years. So
exactly.
Especially maths when it's not changing.
Yep.
So
I embrace it. I'm a fan of it. I think there's a lot of potential with it.
Yep.
Flipped learning. Do we know about flipped learning?
Yeah, isn't that when you film a video and you get them to watch it before they...
It's more than that, Sean.
Oh, is it?
It's more than that.
Yeah.
So the idea of the flipped learning is you're supposed to film the pre-recorded content beforehand. Yep. So if we're looking at... give me a topic.
Linear equations.
Linear equations. Here's how we find the x-axis, x-coordinates, x-intercepts, y-intercepts.
So I'll be starting more like, this is grid paper. This is an axis.
You talk bad about yourself. You wouldn't be like that, mate.
Me.
You got years in the classroom.
Yeah.
This is how we turn it, portrait style. No landscape.
Exactly.
Here we go.
I'll do that,
The portrait and landscape.
I have to show them how to lay out the page.
But I think the students rely more on explicit stuff these days.
They do.
And even with my better classes, I'm still showing, okay, this is the horizontal, call the x-axis, and the y-axis. But so the idea, so students, you're looking at a lot of your normal direct instruction, your content's being offloaded to the video. The idea then being when the students get to class, you're working through more of the problems and the harder questions. So you have the teacher in front of you. So if you, as a student, if you're doing the preemptive learning beforehand and then come into class with ideas or where you've struggled, you can work with the teacher then, and it's trying to get more of the more challenging aspects.
So where the videos connect or something similar?
Great question. So whatever the school's learning area management system is, so like a Connect or a Moodle, if you use Moodle, Moodle's really good.
Still around, is it?
Moodle's great. I only got into Moodle a couple of years ago, but I think the potential is incredible.
It's the same. So then are there worksheets integrated into the video?
They can. It's a Google Docs.
Yeah,
We'll
okay.
use them for a bit, and then here have a couple of. So here's the 15-minute video. What happens to be, then here's the questions we're looking at, and then from there, any more questions you have, try this work. Any questions you're going through, then come back into class.
I think that's probably well structured for maths, especially if it's, so you base it on the textbook.
Yeah, but on the syllabus,
Yeah.
which hopefully a lot of the times the textbooks are aligned to.
Yeah.
Yeah, where it does, where the downfall is if the students aren't if the students aren't watching the video, the more motivated students, independent learners works really well with. If you're not watching the video, then it's creating problems there and making it harder.
And do they get feedback on whether they've got the answers right at home? Like if they watch a video and do...
So that's where you start with. So as in the class, that's how I would use it. So watch the video, those 2 or 3 questions are embedded into the video or through the Google's Doc. You'd start with that and then check for learning there and go further. So yeah, look, I embrace it. I think it's a lot of, again, like the explicit direct instruction, it is a lot of work to start with, but start to get the payback down the track.
I think it's effective for things that are direct, like maths or specific sciences and stuff. But if you're doing it for English, where you have to have some, like if it's a contextual video, and you're showing them a video about war when you're reading a story where they need to know about World War II or something, then it's a little bit less effective.
A book still big in English teaching, or is it more online stuff? So here's a novel, let's go through sections of it.
Well, you still do a novel study, but
that's lower school and upper school, or mainly?
Yeah. But a lot of it's short stories, and they've got programs now with online comprehension things and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I remember back in the day when I was going through, it was like, here for a term, or it might have been a semester, here's a book we're reading, and you'd read whatever, a couple of pages aloud as a class for a lesson, and then go through and do some work there.
Yep.
That's still the process.
I did that with my Year 9 guys this year, though, but I read the whole book out loud.
They're not fans of reading?
It just takes too long to get somebody to read, unless you're like ruthless with your choosing and like
they don't want to do it.
Nah,
it's the same as, because I've got a pre-service teacher at the moment, and we're talking about questioning techniques. I find students are reluctant to give for answers.
Definitely
The fear of failure, but it's also the confidence thing and the losing face and stuff made to be seen uncool.
Sure. So that related to this video, if they're not watching to this technology, they're not going to admit that they haven't done the work before they get there.
And you find out in real time, and then you're trying to deal with that as well.
Yeah. And then but then it comes down to environment of the classroom. If everyone's doing it, then they probably will be inclined to do it.
Do you embrace it, or do you give it a miss?
No, I think I'd miss that one. It just seems like the amount of work you'd have to put in to get it set up is less effective for English.
And depends on the learners you've got and things like that as well.
Yep.
Personalised learning, also known as student-centred or project-based learning. So I was talking to you before about schools, West Australia do big picture. So it's they're taken on the grid, taken out of the mesh subjects, like your math, English, science, HAS, and they work through own project-based learning. So if they want to start a business, they'll do all the math behind that, the marketing, the content writing for it.
Yep.
If they want to look at go into the fitness industry, same thing there, yeah. So it's all their learnings behind it, which I think in theory is great. And
is it non-ATAR?
Non-ATAR path, but you can do a portfolio of work, which can then lead to university entry, but you wouldn't go through the normal ATAR pathway for it.
And the universities have okayed that kind of program?
I don't know how. I can't go
too
in depth about it, but I mean a lot of we're finding students a lot these days through uni prep programs and through portfolio-based work are getting entry into unis.
That seems to be very popular. Yeah.
Which if you're a student, and there's a lot of pressure on a one-off test with the ATAR as well, you know.
Especially if you're pushing for those upper 99s.
Yeah, and then if you don't perform on that day, and then so I think I'm a fan of that way into universities. What I like about the project-based learning on that bigger scale is it's driving. I think it's what learning should be. You're driving students to pursue what they want to learn about.
Well, if you think about it too, then they're entering that profession with knowledge that they would learn at the start of the profession. Do you know what I mean? Like they've already done all the work specific to that.
Yep.
The
research
industry
behind it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's good. I just think it's probably less ATAR focused than it would be more like vet.
And I think where I found downfall as well is then schools see it as older students that are disengaged in lower school. or hard work, we'll put them in this class
Yeah,
and
and
separate them.
then you're pigeonholed.
And then you pigeonhole to that. But it should just be any student that wants a sort of a different approach to learning to go into.
I guess you could make it quite broad. Like these are the careers that, here's the 5 or 6 careers that you can do if you follow this pathway.
Yeah.
That might be effective.
Yeah.
'Cause they're doing it anyway with like automotive. Like,
well, so take it down drill down further into a class level. So for maths year 10, we're finding problems, students just disengage and stuff. The math curriculum does jump up a fair bit.
it does in year 10.
It does. And it's a lot of, like the first term's all about algebraic fractions and stuff. And good students can do it, but some students aren't nowhere near that level. So you're fighting that battle. But, so what we're doing, we have final assessments week 7 this term. The last 3 weeks, we've got these math books made up by people who went out to industry. So all the maths need to be a hairdresser in this book. All the maths need to be electrical engineer.
Yep.
So the students, we will pay for out of the budget. We'll give the students the book and they just work through all the maths behind it.
Yep. That takes out that, when am I ever going to use this?
And I'd use it, but then, so because it's the last couple of weeks of the year, there's no assessments to be due. But I think where the real potential comes in is putting that into like a semester 1 or a term 1 thing.
Yeah.
And then you got to think, well, how do you link that to the reports? And then comes
where's
in
the gaps?
the SEN planning and stuff, so the actual work for teachers. But I think it's definitely a disengagement factor. It helps with that.
Yep.
Pushing it through. So again, there's probably a pattern here we're finding. If you can get it up, put the work in initially.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking just then too.
And build it. I think it's just the maintenance. I think again, I think this something like a big picture program where they run through their own program outside of, is where the biggest power lies.
Yep.
I
always thought for teaching maths, there should be some sort of progressive online course sort of thing, so you don't move on.
That's not a bad idea.
You don't move on to the next bit of content unless you don't do fractions until you know your multiplication.
But I'm finding out like this day and age, like finance is barely taught in lower school. Like you've got
I didn't do it when I was at school.
Yeah, and then the ones they teach us up for a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
and it's, simple interest and stuff, which isn't necessarily a big thing.
Simple interest is easy, and then they go compound. They go, no thanks.
Well, yeah, and like tax and stuff. Like tax is mentioned, but I think there needs to be more of that budgeting skills and living out of home and all that stuff, which should fall under that. So I'm embrace it where you can. Again, just be wary of your workload.
Yeah, it seems a little bit. I'd wait to see sort of how it looks.
Yep.
I don't think I'd embrace it at the moment.
Yep. What are you? So you've gone to embrace, to not embrace.
Yeah.
Gamification?
Yeah, please.
You might know
Tell
more
us about that.
You might know more about it than me. Do you want to take this one?
I haven't.
So
used it,
so the way I haven't used it, the way I've seen it is trying to make
because I love gaming, so trying to incorporate that into the classroom environment is what you're saying.
And like your point system and stuff. Yeah, and you were saying you've seen some.
Oh, that's yeah. So we've done that before, where they have like a children's credit card that's got and you earn points. And then they can log in using their card and use those points to get actual real world stuff.
All online?
Yep.
Based around behaviour?
Yep. Well, based around whenever the teacher wants to give you points.
So how do they look at? So the ones I've seen is when they do like the all online. So your behaviour, you get points, and then you do up your character and stuff online.
Yeah.
So you give them whatever the
avatar.
Avatar. Sorry. Yeah. And build the points up that, which I think is great. But it looked, the class he was working with was a very decently behaved class. Yeah. It'd be interesting to see how it works in other environments.
I think the idea behind it's great because they do really only care about gaming, especially like 12 to 14-year-old boys. Like it's just, everything's related to gaming. The problem with that is if the teacher doesn't, across the school, some teachers don't give points when they're meant to give points, or they forget, or
it needs to be consistent, doesn't it?
Yeah. So unless there's a reminder that to do it, or and you could a good thing about it is you could use it as a reward thing. So do the work, and then the last 8 minutes we can spend working on your character, buying new clothes, like.
Well, and that's what got me in. I think just seeing that like a different approach to it that's interesting, and the kids seem to buy in. Yeah. But again, it was the kind of environment.
Yeah, and you need to know your students. So, like, if they're not interested in that kind of thing, it's gonna really alienate them.
Yep. I'm gonna give this one a miss.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Same. Whether I incorporate it into my teaching or bring it up, no. But if it's there, I would probably use it.
couple more to go. So we're looking at, so this one surprised me, I don't know much about it, but the focus on student social and emotional learning. Seems to be more programs coming into schools these days to deal with mental health.
Yep.
The Resilience Project, which I've read the book, incredible. I think the program, what I've seen of it's great as well. As an outside agency, I think.
Give us a quick rundown of what that is, because I don't...
The Resilience Project.
Is it Australian?
Yeah, so the guy I think is based over in Melbourne.
Yep.
Hugh, I can't remember his last name right now. I read it a few years ago. But basically just is 3 principles: gratitude, empathy, and mindfulness. And just he went to I think Nepal over there, and he's surprised by with the people over there didn't have much, and then had this, and sort of he took that mindset and then brought it back.
Yep.
Yeah, he's trying to get into schools to get kids more resilience, but through these, like, be thankful for what you're around, be good to people, and be mindful of the situation you're in.
That's a life lesson, isn't it? Like, the older you get, the less things you need to have.
But I think where it causes friction, if you're a teacher being expected to specifically teach that.
Sorry to cut you off, but for the summary kind of thing, is it, so this book has inspired a program that runs in WA, or is it
nationwide?
Okay,
nationwide.
And they come from outside the school.
Outside the school,
and they're trained are they teachers, or are they?
I don't think they're teachers. They might have experience in education.
Yep.
But so they've got training with the program, obviously, and they're trying to implement the program across. So it's not necessarily him, the main man, Hugh, coming across.
Yeah, Hugh of the...
He's taught enough people to then go, look, let's work through these programs.
Yeah.
And it's all laid up. We run it in a health class. They have their journals and stuff, and they have worksheets, or not worksheets, but packages to work through.
Okay.
There's online links and stuff.
Yep.
Where my downfall is, I don't think it's teachers. We already role modeled this stuff in terms of, I think, sort of emotional balance and resilience and stuff. I think it's got more impact for a teacher to role model it than teach it explicitly.
It doesn't sound like a teaching strategy, really. It sounds like a program that the school runs to. It's definitely needed. Students teenagers are not resilient, and less so than they have ever been, almost. So I think that is it's a touchy area too, because if you preaching a certain behaviour or a way to, and then you've got to teach them the next period in maths. There's a bit of a separation there between the authority of being their teacher and then a life coach, almost, sort of.
Right.
I think.
Right. So you see it best run by people from the outside coming in.
Well, I'm not trained to tell you how to become resilient, but there are ways that program could be incorporated into your delivery of your content, maybe.
For certain content, certain subjects.
Yeah, or if you knew what they were telling them in those programs, then you could say, this is what they're saying in your resilience program. This is one of those moments where you can do this, this, and this.
Right.
I wouldn't embrace it. I think it's, better left.
I think there's a lot to it. I think it's better left to the experts out there.
But you do most of it in the classroom naturally. So,
final one, we're going to look at...
Microlearning?
You're going to look at microlearning?
Yeah.
What is microlearning?
That is when it's been around for more than 5 years.
More than 5 years?
Yeah, and that's the benchmark. It breaks down learning experience into small digestible chunks. It's called chunkifying. So
chunkifying, also been referred to as chunking?
Or chunking chunks.
So microlearning is so the 5 to 15 minutes small pieces of content. Short activities, I definitely with attention spans these days, I think you need to do it. I think
embrace it, sure. But you're doing it already, aren't you? It goes with the instructional strategy thing.
And I think,
really,
sort of new start. I see pre-service teachers coming in, feeling like they have to teach or sort of explain stuff for 20 minutes.
Yep.
I think and it's an experience thing. You'll learn to refine and just get as much detail you can in a short time, just to A, keep attention spans, and then B, just minimise behaviour problems.
Yeah, and it's good for you. Again, I see it working in maths. Really, it's more easily applicable in maths because you need the process of doing each step, maybe. So the chunks are easily identifiable.
The sequence for it, yeah.
Yeah. So in English, if you've got a task or whatever, then you'd have to know what the objectives are to meet that task, to answer a question. See what I'm saying? So if you're doing short story, then you need to know how the author's making his point in the story. See what I'm saying? So
think
then
I'm
you have
with
to
you.
figure out how that's done through which parts and then teach them.
Right.
But I still think it's effective, yeah.
I'm going to embrace it.
Yeah, I'm embracing.
I think that's it, my man. We're at 25 minutes on the dot.
You say that, but it's not. It's 14 seconds past.
25 minutes and 17 seconds. Episode wrap up. Anything you want to say?
No.
Final words, guys. Don't know.
I don't know, keep an open mind with these kind of things. Like, if the school's telling you to do it, then do it. But no, some of them are actually, don't be a pessimist about new stuff. It works.
Yeah,
sometimes.
take on challenges.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. Like I always say, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next episode.